guys, I was on Facebook and I saw a pretty upsetting message, so I've been replying to it, and I just think you guys should all hear this because it's too long to make a screen cap of it. So, here goes. Someone posted on my on his Facebook wall, is disturbed to hear that President Obama and First Lady Obama invited a poet/rapper to a poetry reading party at the White House to read a poem with lyrics about threatening to kill law enforcement officers and past presidents. How special. To which I replied, maybe he likes rap music, what's wrong with that? It's art. I think it's refreshing that he's so in touch with culture, and you should be glad to have a president that doesn't hypocritically condemn the freedom of speech and expression that our country guarantees just because what is expressed is about killing law enforcement officers and past presidents. Which he replied, well, if another person got up on that stage and talked about derogatory about African American and Hispanics, it would be a hate crime. There's something wrong with threatening past presidents, degrading women, and saying you want to kill the brave men and women that protect us. You can't deny that. By the way, he spelled derogatory wrong. To which I replied, hold on just a second, it's kind of wrong. It's their right under the Bill of Rights that the president upholds to write and say what they please. And it's your opinion that they should not say those things, at which makes no difference, and will not ever stop them. Art is about expressing yourself, and in any way that you feel necessary. Poetry is a form of art. The Obamas were holding a poetry reading. Therefore, one should not expect, as the Obamas obviously did not, the poet to produce a poem, the poet's artwork, with any inhibitions because of their surroundings or because of who they might offend. If they had such inhibitions, they would not fully be expressing themselves, and therefore would no longer be it would no longer be their art. Regardless of whether or not you find the artwork offensive, it is important that the Obamas are in touch with popular culture, and obviously withhold that every person, artist, poet, U.S. citizen should be protected by the Bill of Rights. That is something that you should be proud of, as it is upon the First Amendment that this country is built. To which he replied, I never said he couldn't write whatever he wanted to, but the fact that our president is embracing popular culture to be cool or whatever you want to call it is ridiculous. Obviously, your argument is well thought out of, considering the Democrat defending Obama on talk radio on the subject is saying the exact thing, but the other side of the argument is greatly overpowering him. People that write forms of poems like that, or who talk about how hard they have it and how we should kill people because of it, are only making things worse on themselves by writing such provocative material. And Mrs. Obama should be ashamed for allowing someone who wants to kill the head of the government, which probably gets the CIA and Secret Service's attention, into the White House. And they knew what the poem was when they invited him. They played back a recording of him playing it, and it was really awful and derogatory to women like Michelle Obama. I just like to add that none of the lyrics say anything derogatory about women that I could see, that I read. Then he posts the lyrics, which you should definitely go look up on YouTube because it's really interesting reading. And then I replied in many messages, again, whether you think it's a poor way to represent our country is irrelevant. What is relevant is that the Obamas are showcasing that what our country is built on. It's not about being cool, it's about the very thing that America was built on. Questioning the government, expressing ourselves, taking a stand, having opinions, and communicating them. In other countries, if someone wrote something like this, they could go to prison. It's an amazing, wonderful thing that an artist can go and say things like this, and to our president, or say these things on the radio, or publish these things. This is the very foundation of our nation. Continuing, I can compare this to several events in American history. We would not be the country we were today had we not had a revolution and fought to be independent from the government that we questioned and in many cases threatened. And we would look back upon these events as historic and heroic. And at this point I quoted, I sing a song for the hero unsung with faces on the mural of the revolution. Not to mention that A lot of this poetry has to do with racial discrimination in this country, which is something that you obviously cannot relate to, so you automatically disagree with it. Then I quoted again, I like a war on terror, or I walk like a warrior. From them I won't run on the streets. They try to beat us like a drum in Cincinnati. Another brother hung. And then another quote from the lyrics, they want us to hold justice, but you handed me none. The same that they did to Kobe and Michael Jackson. That's make them the main attraction, turn around and attack them, black Jim in the rough. And then I said, if you read through the poem, you'll see that he's not threatening to kill or threatening the government out of hatred for this country. He's doing so because he is taking a stance and he's being a revolutionary, because he's refusing back down from the government that he feels is oppressive and unjust. He is not so different from our founding fathers now, is he? To which he replied, the Obamas invited him because they, unlike a lot of Americans America right now, are not offended by this poem. They don't think there's anything wrong with it because they can relate to it. And racial discrimination is not just Caucasian against Hispanics and African Americans, because they do the same thing to us too. And again, by complaining about racial discrimination relating to the Bush burning, which you left out of here, and threatening officials, he's just making it worse for himself and his fellow African Americans, even if I or other people don't have a problem with which anyone, unless they do things like this. To which I replied, really? They do the same thing to us, Reese. Let me think. At which point in history were we slaves to African Americans? At which point in history were we forced into segregation by African Americans? I could continue, but I think I've made my point. It's people like you that make people like Common write things like this. People that don't understand, and I doubt you'll ever understand, the fact that you think that him writing things like this is just making it worse for himself and his fellow African Americans is ridiculous. To start a revolution, you have to make yourself heard. I would appreciate if you would do a little research on American history, and I think you would see some parallels between what you're so offended by and what made America the country it is today. Yeah. So that was just me reading to you my little rant on Facebook. I'm sure it's going to continue because this is ridiculous, but I thought you guys should see this because I can't screen cap it because it's so freaking long. So, awesome.